Welcome in, legends. We're going to talk through a couple of things today. One being the comments. We're going to go through and answer some questions from TLT. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about Origin. Obviously, yeah, plenty happened last night, and we'll get into that. And then a few of the guys that I did miss out on talking about yesterday, we'll discuss as well. A few of those Tigers players, both for more, Murad and Niokore, all of the guys that you've all the guys you've been asking about in the comments that I have missed as well there, and then a little focus on sort of the guys that are having a bye this week. There's a few of those that I didn't mention as potential sells, like Fuller, Ethan Strange, players like that. This is the last video you'll have for me for a good while without my mic as well, so thanks for being patient with that while I've been away. I'm back in Sydney now at Mum and Dad's, and we'll get back to my place later this Arvo. We'll also have Scoop on this afternoon, so we'll get that video out by, say, 3:30, 4 o'clock, which will be great as well. We're going to discuss a few of the Origin potential backups. I've seen a few people write certain things already about what they think, who will back up and the like, and we'll start to get some information out later today and obviously tomorrow morning as well in sort of late mails as to our guys potentially going to back up and stuff. But I'm worried about a couple of players. One being Ruben Cotter playing 69 minutes. He's an incredible player there. But let's focus on the Origin game to kick things off. 38-10. Maroons victors over the Blues, unfortunately there for us New South Wales supporters. But on the other hand, yes, we had the send-off. But as a Blues supporter, this is just so typical. And they remind me a lot of the Cowboys, when you can just see it from a mile away what the problems are and what needs to be fixed and what needs to be changed. And it's something that the Blues just don't change and don't acclimatise to and don't fix, which the Maroons just do always. And you see there, obviously, the send-off happens, and it's on that right-hand side, which we were very much worried about already with Nico, along with, obviously, Liam Martin, Suoli'i, and Lomax there on that right-hand side. And you lose one of those guys that we're already worried about, as I just said, and you still don't change the way you defend. And it did take a couple of tries from Hammer, and, obviously really good plays down the left-hand side, but it took a couple of plays down there, a couple of tries, getting him out to sort of an 18 to 6 lead there before anything was to happen. And they end up moving, obviously, Stephen Crichton over to that side, but it was a little bit too late. And I think if they were able to stick in this game for a little bit longer, obviously at that stage it was a try apiece, which was really, really cool. 6-6, or 8-6, sorry, with the penalty goal. But yeah, they were able to stick in this a little bit longer. If they were able to get through those couple of tries that Hammer ended up scoring in the 18th and the 23rd minute, there would have been a little bit more belief, I think, that they could actually come back from a tight game and try really hard like they did for the most part there and get over the line. But it's just something that the Blues just don't seem to adjust to. And obviously, we've got the stat out there about 84% of teams lose if they lose an outside back in the first half of a match, and they still didn't have anything to combat that. They had Hudson Young on the bench there that they thought, was going to be that backup type of player if an outside back went down. And obviously this is a little bit different. You're one man short, but it does mean your defensive structures on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, they have to change. And they had this left-hand side, was the formidable side, right? And you weren't going to get through, which they ended up getting that pass through back to Ben Hunt in that 4th minute. But the other side, it's just what we've seen with Penrith and these teams being able to go, okay, you've got an injury there. Everything I've spoken about in sort of the 5 things we've learned, or when I was going through certain games there throughout the early part of the season, that teams just aren't adjusting. And it's like that you can't even get through on one side at all, which is awesome. But of course they're just going to go down the other side. And that's what they did for that first half before they fixed things up and changed things up a little bit. And they did end up scoring a try down that right-hand side in open play from Selwyn Cobbo, getting it to then that cover tackle on Holmes, to then Ben Hunt go down that right-hand side and score as well. So, and obviously, the tries at the end, consolation, it is what it is. Extended out to a 38-10 loss, but that's just my general thoughts. It obviously was all lost in that send-off, which was fair enough. It was a tough one. Yes, people can say he was falling into it. He attacked he was attacking the chest, but when you're going to go for someone in the chest, if anything goes slightly off, you're whacking him in the head. And just the optics of it were really bad, given he went to hit him and he turned his head and closed his eyes, and there's just a few things that didn't go right there. And given it was so early in the game, there, sort of 7th minute, it absolutely devastated all Blues fans, and this was expected from there. But we do have to shout out a few of the... I will shout out a few of the Blues players to kick things off there. And we will have to go from fullback up. We'll go there. And just the quality of effort that you got from Zach Lomax, and obviously such an aerial threat, and I think that he'll be locked into this side, and we'll speak about him shortly as a potential hold or sell, and I don't think he's leaving this side. He was really, really good. We know what we're going to get from To'o. We know what we're going to get from Crichton. He had some really good carries in there as well. Suoli'i, I think he'll get a fairly lengthy ban. I doubt that he gets picked for Origin, so that's going to have some ramifications there, and I'm going to speak about that with Scoop this afternoon to obviously go along with his side and where he's at coming into round 14 and all those fun topics as well. But Crichton's going to be there. It's just going to be that Suoli'i situation, whether it ends up being Bradman Best upon return or it's Latrell Mitchell. I think that's probably where they're going to go at with that centre spot if Suoli'i's gone. Then you got Tedesco. I think that he obviously tried his heart out as always. He got that try. Plenty of effort areas there, but just, it's hard to judge too much from this team. But you saw there were some standouts, and Tedesco was fine without being incredible. Obviously now it's a question mark of, because of the loss, can you make some changes? And I think that's usually what will happen. If they were to win, Teddy would have stayed, and there's now, because they lost pretty handily, that there's a good chance that Edwards does come in if he's fit to go. The Jerome Luai, Nico Hines combination, there were some good moments there. Hines was able to put a kick through for that Lomax try. You had Luai put his little kick through as well to get the Tedesco try, which was great. So there's a couple of good moments. Effort-wise for the whole team was really, really solid. I was happy with that. But Hines now, there's a chance that obviously he doesn't make the next Origin as well. But fantasy-wise, he has a bye anyway. But I said we'll focus on all that stuff once we get to the video with Scoop this afternoon. Trbojevic for lower minutes was a little bit of a strange one as well. Just the one stint. Reece Robson was absolutely incredible. He's been in great touch this year for Cowboys, our best for sure. And yeah, he was awesome last night. Payne Hassett is incredible stuff. Liam Martin, just an Origin player. He's an incredible player. Angus Crichton will be there next game. And I really think that Cam McInnes, like we've been seeing for the Sharks, his little in and away movements, the moves that you see Isaiah Yeo do, but I think McInnes just that little bit faster, which he can get into slightly smaller gaps a little bit quicker than what Isaiah Yeo can. But Isaiah Yeo is a bigger, stronger guy. So I think McInnes will be there next game, even if we do see Murray return, which I think we will see Murray return. Crichton will be there again. We'll probably just lose one of Hudson Young or Olakau'atu, and I think you just have to see Matt Burton come into this side, whether he goes into that centre spot as well, now that he's been in camp as well. That's it's going to be a big thing. But Spencer Leniu was massive off the bench. He'll stay there next game. Will just be if they pursue with Olakau'atu and Hudson Young in there, or they get another, obviously I was going to say dual position. If basically a dual position, a utility player that can cover the backs off their bench, which I think obviously worked out perfectly for the Maroons there with Cobbo. The lucky side of that meant that Cobbo could go to centre and Hammer could go back to his traditional fullback position, but it doesn't matter where Hammer plays. He's absolutely incredible. Hopgood did good things off the bench. Followake was solid. Harry Grant had some terrific runs. Almost a couple of line breaks there. Pat Carrigan just continues to dominate. He's an incredible player. Jeremiah Nanai, the only guy in this pack that ended up playing the full 80 minutes, which not sure if anyone would have expected, but he does just turn up and play incredibly well in Origin. Lindsay Collins didn't have any massive moments, was really solid, and I really liked the play of Jaden Sewer. He gave them a real good defensive hitting threat to go along with some good running on the other side, and he helped set up that one of those early tries from the second try or the third. I think it was the second try for the Maroons there on that left-hand side. Ben Hunt, incredible as always. Cotter, the 69 minutes, he's an absolute freak. Very, very impressive. Dearden had a really solid game. Daly, Cherry Evans was absolutely incredible. Deserved the man of the match, in my opinion. It was him or Hammer, for sure. But he orchestrated that incredible win. Murray Talangi just continues to dominate in Origin as well, whenever you select him. Hammer was incredible, as we said. Val Holmes, the errors are still in his game, and he kind of allowed New South Wales to be in this game for longer than they should have, to be honest with you there. He was, I am a little bit worried about his spot, but goal kicking was tremendous. And, he obviously did good things outside of those errors, but it was, that wasn't nice there at all to see the 3 errors from him there. Xavier Coates doing good things, and then Walsh only the 7 minutes for him. And thankfully, it seems like he's okay there for sure. So, yeah, just a clinical performance from the Maroons. And, yeah, the Blues just need to bounce back, that's for sure, in that one there. So, that's the Blues chat. Let's go into some of the questions here. Eamon there, I'm pulling my hair out picking Twal, Utoikamanu, and Koloamatangi, who to choose and why. I have spoken about all three of those guys, so I hope that video helped in some way. I do think it is probably, I just have a little bit of a worry on Koloamatangi, just the ability for him to go consistently and score well. I think Twali, you know that you're going to get sort of 50 minutes out of him and pretty good scores for the most part, and Stefano, unlikely that you're going to have to trade him out of your team, whereas Twali could be a good play for the next sort of couple of months, maybe shorter than that, and then likely you're going to have to trade him out. So, yeah, if you're running lower on trades, Stefano, Twali's obviously a bit cheaper there as well. Hope this one gets to you, mate. Doing 2 trades. Should I go for Fafita and with Twal or Katoa with Jerome Hughes? I have 16 trades, so trading later. Later on, no issues. Well, I suppose the Fafita one is the captaincy. So if you want a good captain this week, Fafita's the guy. With Twal works. Do you need a half though? If you need a half and you're selling Hines, then maybe Hughesy as well. So whichever suits your team best for sure. Whiter, that's good. Whichever suits your team best. What do I do? I have Walsh and Nico, 8 trades left. Yeah, that's tough. I think Walsh is a definite sell. Hines, I think you'd probably hold before Walsh. Probably just sell Walsh and keep Hines would probably be the way I'd go for that one. Dream. Vinny, I need a wing fullback or centre this week. Also one there for around 16 and 19. I just think that, yeah, he's got Tigers, Bunnies, Titans, or Manly. It has to be Garrick. If you're not going Latrell, it's Garrick. Very, very clearly on that one. Trell or Garrick. Coin flip. I think Trell has more upside, but riskier. For sure. Like, I think that's just the only way to think about it with those two, and comparing those two is just the risk factor with Trell making Origin. I have Moses, and I don't think he's a good purchase anymore. Well, at least we'll be good. At least we'll be good for 2 weeks. I'm not sure if he ends up making this squad. I think like a good chance, but it's not guaranteed. And if you already own him, you already own him. Some people will be looking to buy him this week, which could be the tough one. Hines to Hughes, Matto to Keon, Chevy to Hands. Yeah, I want to read one of them doing head-to-head. Yeah, lock it in. Lock it in. The Hines one's probably the only interesting one. If that leaves you with a lot of cash, maybe try and trade someone else, but I think lock it in. It's going to help you get some wins and stuff like that, which is good. This was an interesting one. I think you've been looking at Hands wrong. He was a trade the dump a cash cow to trade up, to get him and then trade up. That was last week, but obviously this week's a different story. And you need to look at it and go, well, do I need him in round 16? It just needs to suit your side. So I might be looking at a different story. He's super cheap as well. I think you're going to play him week to week. Like, you've got him, I'd be playing him ahead of Pikura and all these types of guys. So yeah, I think that he's very much an easy guy to own for sure. And he still might suit my plans. I just need to have a look at my spreadsheet now that I'm back home and sort things out there. Do we play 13 or 17 this week? 17, AJ, for 14, 17, and 19, the rounds there. Trell or AFB. It's positional dependency, as I think that they'll both probably score similar. Position dependent. All right. Do you think bringing in Twal instead of Fino is the way to go? Up to you, man. If you only need a mid, then Twal probably will score better. Twal likely score better, but is obviously more expensive. And no Jewel. And you expect that Samuela ends up keeping the spot. So yeah, longer term, and that will help as well. Jax using the 3 trades this week. Hines to Fafita, Smithies to Twal, and Hughes to Tuolangi. Yeah, Tuolangi's an interesting one for there for sure. Already have 12 for 16. Yep, lock it in. Torn between doing Hines to Latrell and having no gun halfback, or doing Hines to one of either Moses and Hughes. I think go Hughes. Hughes over Latrell, I think, in that scenario. He's high, just, consistency. You don't have to worry about Origin. If you need a half anyway, it's all things that I'll be looking at too. especially with Atkinson on the way out eventually. But, we've got SJ coming back next week, so he could be a look in as well if you want to wait the week. And that's something that I'll probably touch on right now, guys, is that you've got the 3 teams on the bye this week. You've got Dolphins, you've got the Raiders there, and then, who am I missing? Oh no, I've lost the plot. Dolphins, Raiders, Roosters. Roosters are an interesting one. I don't think there's really anyone of relevance in the Roosters team that you want to grab next week. Watson's likely to return shortly, but he's very expensive, and I think there's a good chance he makes Origin. It's going to be hard, though, when Murray comes back. I don't think McInnes can be dropped. So unless you play Burton, unless you go Burton in the centre jersey, and then play Watson off the bench, and maybe Murray as well, and still start McInnes, or just you're removing the edge cover, which, Murray can play edge and things like that. So, yeah, that's something to think about with the Roosters, guys. I don't think there's anyone you'd like to buy following this week, but Raiders, you can look at guys like Joe Tarpany. If you don't want to get a mid this week, you can get a mid next week with him, and he's just got that 1 bye in round 19 remaining. Then for the Dolphins, you might be looking at how good of a buy Euan Aitken is, or Plath, and these types of players following this round, given they only miss round 18 to go. So that's just something to think about as well. Let's quickly go. I'll come back to these questions, but firstly, let's just go and have a look at who people are buying this week. Brendan Hands is being on the list at 6%, followed by Dave Fafita at 4.5%, which makes sense. Latrell's at 2.5%, Jerome Hughes just under 2%, Keon Koloamatangi pretty high there at 1.9 after his 104. Fair enough. Moses, Drinkwater, and Preston all above 1, which makes sense. We spoke about Preston being a good buy. Kelma, Samuela in that cheaper mid-range that we're speaking about in the buy, hold, risk, sell. Lehigh Hopewadi, a little bit more of a risky play, given Turbo will be back soon. I don't rate it highly. Eli Katoa just seemed very lowly owned. Maybe people don't need the other edges if you're going for Fafita, and I completely understand that. If you've got a few edges already, you might not be going for them. In terms of mids, it seems to be only Keon, the big mid that people are purchasing, and then it's Fainu and Adam Fanua-Blake, which makes sense. Toby Couchman is too overbought, in my opinion. He might be out of this team this week if the Origin guys back up, or at best next week there. All right, Justin Matamua, I forgot to speak about in yesterday's video. So what we do see for him is a 33-minute effort for 26 points, a 46-minute effort for 34. Leaves him with a PPM of 0.69, and if you're just looking at this year only, in those 2 games, at 0.76. So if you do expect him getting about 45 minutes, then you should be able to expect pretty close to a 34 to 35 point effort. When he's priced at 20, there's definitely worse picks you can do. He doesn't get the dual position, so do you need another edge? Like if you're sitting there with P. Kura or something like that, I don't feel like you really need him. Yes, P. Kura's got obviously a buy in round 16 as well, but then you get him as another edge for 19, which could be helpful, which is the same as Matamua. If you don't have a P. Kura and you're lighter on edges, and I could see it happening as a bit of a cash down, but I would personally rather go for Brendan Hands, even though he misses 16 and 20, rather than Matamua there. I do think that Hands will be able to score better, the dual position's good, and edge seems a very, very highly sought after position. Anyway, I should say. Alex Seyfarth, another one I just didn't mention, but he's only got the mid at the moment, which is still pretty cool, but there's so many mid options there. I do think Fainu is a better option longer term. Seyfarth's got the position for a little bit, and we know that he can be either out of the team or straight on the bench. And yes, in recent history, he's had some good minutes off the bench, off the interchange bench there, with Bateman being out, and then Isaiah Papali'i last week being out there, and he had some good minutes off the bench earlier on, but then he did lose that opportunity and went down to 32 minutes, 22 and 15. So that's something that could happen in the next, after 6 weeks or something like that, come the end of the buy period. But again, you're purchasing him for the buy period, and then you're likely to sell him after that round 19 clash in round 20 or 21, which, you could come out of it in a really, really good spot. We do see him, if you filter by position, in the second row there, he absolutely dominates in that spot there, 50 in 72 minutes. So if you think that he's got this slot for a while, we know that Papali'i is going to be out until that point. Very similar to that with Bateman. He'll be back around that 19-20 as well. So if you trust Seyfarth to do well, which I think he can, then priced at 29, very, very cheap in that mid. He could be a guy that you trade in instead of someone like Fainu, who is a little bit more expensive, right? At 479k, that will be shifted out to the edge in the centres, but we know that Seyfarth could be that guy that shifts out to the centres as well. So it's a pretty interesting kind of decision to make between a few of these guys for sure. And you look at the notes there for Seyfarth, if it lets me do that. Papali'i off with an ankle injury after hip drop tackle. Seyfarth is on the edge. So he got 41 in 49 minutes. We know he can do good things in there. And that's just someone I think you can definitely look at. I'm half interested myself. If I don't really need an edge at this point, so it's mids is my main target, and Seyfarth is cheaper, and it may help you get to another player at 79k, or if you already have Seyfarth and you don't want to go for Twal at 570 odd, you can go down to Fainu. If you already got Fainu, you can go down to Seyfarth instead. But for more at 691k, I just think that he wasn't even on the who's not list. That's why I didn't mention him in yesterday's video. But at 691k, he's starting to score incredibly well, and he even scored great in being named in centre. And there's obviously a worry that if things happen, he'll end up being named in centre again. But we've seen there that he can go really, really well. After those first 4 rounds, he has only dipped under 40 once. He's got a 34, a 42. Then he's got 63, 50, 63, 58, and 69 there for a terrific sort of 6-round average, well into the 50s and the mid-50s there. So he's someone that is priced under, obviously, where he's been averaging at in recent history, and we know that he can do really well with just that round 17 bye to go. I don't imagine he will be in Origin, that's for sure as well. So something to note with him. A really solid purchase. A few people in the comments actually asking about Marata Niukore. So he is returning in a bigger minute role, which is cool. And he's hardly played a game this year, so it's just hard to even look at him as a potential option. He played 49 minutes last week, and I think he'll get something similar again. He picked up a try, line break, 4 tackle breaks, and a turnover tackle last week, and got 47. I just think there's better options, even with that mid-edge duel. It's all very helpful, but you do see some players returning in the next few weeks. Like, we're not sure if Barnett's going to be back in the middle. If Ford isn't playing middle at the moment, will he go back to an edge and stuff things around a bit? We know that Marata's had some good scores at times last year, but he also had times where he played 80 minutes for 28. He got 60 minutes for 29. He had some very average scores, so he can be good and poor in certain scenarios, and he usually needs to score a try to score pretty well into sort of the mid-40s to high to 50s type of thing. So not someone I'd be interested in, but I do understand if you want to go there. All right, someone I'm considering having to trade this week, but I do want to find out more information on our Origin backup guys before I make that decision or before I use that extra trade. Because at the moment I'm trying to use 3 trades, not 4. But if it ends up being 4, Fuller is a good chance of going. And I love Hammer. Unfortunately for my team, he didn't get a niggling injury or redo a little bit of his hamstring or something like that. So Fuller won't be playing in round 15 unless something comes out, but very, very unlikely he'll be playing in round 15, which, unless I'm selling Sam Hughes, is a week that I'll probably need another warm body. So if I could potentially hold on to someone like Angus Crichton for round 15, we can get a good score out of him, and that could really help my round 15 score. But then I need to look at my wing fullback coverage and who I'm grabbing in wing fullback this week to set myself up for round 16 there especially. So Fuller, you can hold or sell. Obviously coming off a 36, his break even comes back up to a normal range, but he's up at 625k now, which is an incredible price to sell if you want to. But if you want to hold on as well for round 16, hopefully get a good score like we had in those 4 games prior and really help you out in round 16, then that would be great and could be really helpful for your side. And I'm going to look at that myself. He is a hold or a sell. And then Zach Lomax there is 629. Unfortunately, with him playing so well in Origin, he is going to be there from now on, in my opinion. And that means he's going to miss round 16, which he was anyway. But he'll miss round 19 and round 20. And he's not one of the best wing fullback or centers at the moment. I think that you could probably sell him if you want to. Like, there's a decent chance he'll back up. And the team needs him to. Need Ben Hunt to as well, which Ben Hunt will definitely back up. They're on the reserves at the moment, but I do think that he's someone that if you need to get rid of someone this week, if you're not sure if he's going to play, then he could be the guy to sell. And then Easton Strange is one of the guys I want to mention. You could throw in Seb Chris into this list as well as guys that you could potentially might want to move on from with their bye this week. He's had a really decent couple of weeks, to be fair. Gone 35, since people wanted to sell him after the 14, he's gone 35, 40, 45, 29, and 44. Picking up try assists, helping them win in certain games. And last game had 0 missed tackles, which is very impressive. He did that 3 weeks ago as well when he picked up that 35, but 20 tackles for 0 misses was great. Yes, he had 2 errors, but he had 9 tackle breaks and decent run meters there. So that was really cool for Strange. You can hold if you want, like he's got about a 20 break even, center and half dual. If you want him for round 15, 16, 17, and 18, you could sell in round 19. It's either this week or in round 19, in my opinion. Maybe you do need a center for round 16, so Ethan Strange could be an easy hold for you. Yeah, we've got Iro and these types of players that are missing round 16, so center's a fairly tough spot for that in that in that scenario. So he's someone that you could potentially hold during that period as well. All right, let's just get through a couple more comments before we move on, and start driving home and then get into a video with Scoop in a couple of hours there. Is Hines or Angus even a trade out if you're a head-to-head player? Trade's more valuable than back end was the thought, and it's not like they're not keepers. Yeah, 100%, man. Hold both or one, I think, is the easy way to do that. What about Kohler? Kohler is a hold. He's a warm body this week. He could still score well in the centres, even if it's against Panthers. He's come up against Isaac Tungle, which they seem to be scoring some tries down that edge. Jason, I have 11 trades and 2 players not on field this round, 15 total, including Edwards, with Fuller and SJ potential, but reluctant trades. Thoughts? I'd probably trade Fuller. And yeah, maybe trade Fuller only, I reckon. Just play with 16 and go from there. Thoughts on Arrow? He's fine. A fine buy. But yeah, he's injured. Like, one thing could go wrong and he's out. But we spoke about him just then. Thanks, Pilot. Hughes and Strange to Kelman Fino for head-to-head. Yep, that's sweet. Not a problem there. You could also hold Strange. So maybe one trade. Yes, or one trade. Because Hughes is an easy one to sell, guys, if you want to. Like I said, same with Jamin Salmon. Hey, Jamie, just want your thoughts on Hines to Fafita, Hughes to Twal, Cotter to Terrell. Yep, that's fine, man. Especially if Cotter might not play big minutes this week. We spoke about that. Nick Corey could be a buy. Could be, like I said, one player away from a full team. Currently thinking Hughes to hands and saving 300k in the bank for next week. Yep. Hold off on second trade or bring a gun this week. All options work. Up to you. Because, like, you could go okay this week or could go gun next week and the next week is not as good. Yeah, things to think about. Hughes, Kotrick, Hines for King, Fermor, and Jerome Hughes. Thoughts? Yes, King you could hold off on and go for the other guys, given he's got 2 buys coming up, and go for a Tigers mid. That could be easily a thing. Thoughts on Sam Hughes to both for more. The other thing with Seyfarth, he could lose his spots like Asa Kapoa and these types of players as well. So there's a bit more risk there. That one's good. Nick Meaney and Talau, but no Seyfarth. Yeah, was just going through the hot and not list, to be honest, mate. In that video, that's all I did. I just went through who people are trading in. I wanted to speak about them. That was it, but I got there anyway. Sorry, mate. Got there in today's video. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Actually, got to head off. It's almost 12, and I'm going to upload this and get back for a 2:15 video with Scoop. So there you go. All right, thanks so much, Legends, for being here. Hope that was very helpful for you guys with your sides there, and we'll see you for Scoop's video in a couple of hours.